Episode 1: The Man Who Shouldn't Exist. The world had changed. Nearly 80% of the population possessed some kind of superhuman ability known as a quirk. Some could control fire, some could transform their bodies, some could manipulate gravity, create objects, communicate with animals, or alter the physical world around them. And because people possessed extraordinary powers, society had created extraordinary people to protect them, heroes. To children across Japan, heroes were celebrities, role models, and symbols of justice. To one boy, however, they were something even more important. They were a dream. Musutafu City. Izuku Midoriya sat in his classroom staring at the television mounted in the corner. On the screen, a pro hero was battling a gigantic villain. "Don't worry, citizens, I've arrived." The classroom erupted with excitement. Midoriya's eyes practically sparkled. "He's so cool." Around him, his classmates talked excitedly about their own quirks and what kind of heroes they wanted to become. Midoriya lowered his head. His hands tightened around his notebook. He knew what everyone would say. He had heard it his entire life. He was quirkless. But that didn't stop him from dreaming. He wanted to become a hero, even if everyone told him it was impossible. Several kilometers away, the same dream was being discussed for a completely different reason. Inside the FOMO Corporation building, a man sat quietly behind a desk. Black bowl-cut hair, circular glasses, black suit. Nothing about him appeared extraordinary. His name was X. At least that was what everyone called him. He was an ordinary salaryman. He arrived at work at exactly 7 a.m. He completed his assignments. He attended meetings. He answered emails. He endured tedious paperwork. And at 5 p.m., he went home. Nothing remarkable. Nothing suspicious. Nothing that would make anyone think twice about him, except for one small detail. X wasn't ordinary. Not remotely. He glanced at the clock. 11:58 a.m. His computer displayed a spreadsheet. His fingers stopped typing. 11:59. He closed the document. 12. X stood. Lunch. He adjusted his glasses and walked toward the cafeteria. The building shook. Boom! X stopped. Everyone around him screamed. The windows rattled violently. A column of smoke rose from several blocks away. Someone shouted, "Villain attack!" X slowly looked through the window. His expression barely changed. He checked his watch. 12:03 p.m. He sighed. Of course. Up the sludge villain. The villain attack that day would become famous. A gigantic mass of sludge had attacked Musutafu. Heroes rushed toward the scene. Police surrounded the area. Civilians fled. And among the crowd stood Izuku Midoriya. He had been walking home when the chaos erupted. Then he saw him. The sludge villain. The creature had captured a young boy. Bakugo Katsuki. Midoriya froze. Kachan. The crowd watched helplessly. Several heroes attempted to intervene, but the villain's body made conventional attacks extremely difficult. Bakugo struggled. "Let me go." Midoriya's legs moved before his mind could stop them. He ran forward. Meanwhile, 3 streets away, X stood on the roof of a building. His lunch bag was still in his hand. He watched the situation from above. His eyes narrowed slightly. He could see everything: the villain, the trapped boy, the approaching heroes, the terrified civilians, and Midoriya. X tilted his head. Interesting. He didn't know Midoriya. He wasn't following him. He wasn't looking for him. He had simply noticed something unusual. The boy was afraid, yet he was moving toward danger. X watched silently. That's not courage. A faint smile appeared. Not entirely. He adjusted his glasses. It's something more troublesome. Midoriya attacked. It was reckless. It was foolish. It was impossible. And yet, it worked. For one brief moment, the sludge villain's attention shifted. That was enough. All Might arrived. The symbol of peace appeared. The battle was over almost instantly. The crowd cheered. Midoriya stared in amazement. All Might. His hero. His idol. The person he had admired his entire life. But X wasn't watching All Might. He was watching Midoriya. The boy was crying. Not because he had been saved, because he had tried to save someone. X's smile disappeared. "So that's what you chose." A different kind of hero. Later that afternoon, Midoriya returned home. He couldn't stop thinking about All Might. He couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. And somewhere across the city, X sat alone at a small restaurant. He ate quietly. A television replayed footage of All Might's rescue. The news reporter praised the symbol of peace. Once again, All Might has demonstrated why he remains the greatest hero in Japan. X continued eating. He wasn't particularly interested in rankings. Number 1, Number 2, number 3. They meant nothing to him. A hero was someone who helped another person. That was all. The television suddenly displayed an interview. A reporter asked, All Might, what do you think makes a true hero? All Might smiled. Someone who gives people hope. X paused. He looked at the screen. Then he chuckled. Hope. He took another bite. Not bad. His phone vibrated. A message from FOMO. Emergency overtime requested. X stared at it. His expression became completely blank. No. He turned the phone face down. Hashtag the rooftop. That evening, Midoriya stood on a rooftop. He had just spoken with All Might. His entire world had changed. All Might had told him something incredible. He could become a hero. Midoriya clenched his fists. I can become a hero. He smiled. For the first time in years, his dream didn't feel impossible. Across the city, on another rooftop, X stood beneath the night sky. He looked toward Musatafu. His eyes seemed to focus on something far beyond the city itself. Something invisible. Something he alone could perceive. For a fraction of a second, the world around him seemed different. Lines appeared across reality. Possibilities. Connections. Events that had not yet happened. A boy inheriting an extraordinary power, a school filled with future heroes, villains gathering in darkness, a society approaching a turning point. X blinked. The vision disappeared. He adjusted his glasses. That's going to be troublesome. His phone rang. X answered. Hello? His manager spoke from the other end. X, where are you? Home, home. X looked around the empty rooftop. Metaphorically. You're supposed to be finishing the quarterly report. X hung up. He looked at the moon. I really should quit. He didn't. 1 month later, All Might's secret was revealed. Izuku Midoriya had inherited One for All. Training began. The boy worked harder than he ever had before, and somewhere in the background, X continued living his ordinary life. 7 a.m., work, 12 p.m., lunch, 5 p.m., home. The cycle continued, until one afternoon, a villain attack occurred near FOMO. X looked through the office window. A villain had crashed through a nearby building. People screamed. His coworkers panicked. Someone shouted, Where are the heroes? X glanced at the clock. 4:47 p.m. 13 minutes until his shift ended. He sighed. 13 minutes. He stood. A coworker looked at him. Where are you going? Outside. Are you crazy? X adjusted his glasses. No. He walked toward the exit. Then he stopped. His hand rose. His fingers came together. Snap. The world changed. For less than a second, reality seemed to bend. His black hair swept backward, becoming slick and white. His circular glasses transformed into square orange lenses. His black suit became immaculate white. A red tie appeared around his neck. A metallic X rested against his chest. X stepped through the doorway. The employees inside stared. One whispered, Who is that? Another answered, I don't know. Outside, the villain roared. Who's going to stop me? X calmly walked forward. The villain swung a massive fist. X didn't move. The fist stopped 1 centimeter from his face. The villain froze. X looked at the fist, then at the villain. You missed. The villain's eyes widened. X snapped his fingers. Snap. The villain disappeared, not destroyed, not defeated, simply gone. A second later, he reappeared inside a police containment vehicle several kilometers away. The police officers stared at him. What the? Back at FOMO, X dusted off his sleeve. The civilians stared at him. A woman pointed. Are you a hero? X looked at her. He considered the question, then smiled. Something like that. Before anyone could ask another question, snap. He disappeared. The first rumor that evening, footage appeared online. A mysterious man in a white suit had appeared during a villain attack. There was no hero license, no agency affiliation, no known quirk, no registered hero name. The video was only 12 seconds long, but it spread rapidly. People began giving him names. The White Hero, the Phantom Hero, the Reality Hero, the Man in White. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew where he came from. Nobody knew how he had defeated the villain, and nobody knew that the mysterious man worked in an office building under the name X. Somewhere else, Aizawa Shota watched the footage on his laptop. He replayed it, again, and again. The villain vanished. No visible projectile, no physical movement, no across the room another screen displayed the same footage. All Might watched silently. His expression was unusually serious. I've never seen anything like this. Aizawa looked toward him. Do you know him? No. Any information? None. Aizawa leaned back. Then we have a problem. All Might nodded. Indeed. Neither man noticed the figure standing on a distant rooftop. X watched the city. He could hear their conversation despite the distance. He smiled faintly. They're already investigating. He adjusted his orange glasses. That was fast. Then he looked toward the horizon. Far away, a green-haired boy was beginning his journey toward UA High. X's expression became thoughtful. He didn't know the boy personally. He had no reason to interfere with his life. But something about the future surrounding Midoriya felt different. X turned away. I'll leave him alone. He snapped his fingers. Snap. The white suit disappeared. His hair returned to black. His glasses became circular. The mysterious hero vanished, and an ordinary salaryman walked home. Tomorrow morning, X would arrive at FOMO at 7 a.m., just like always. But the world had already begun changing, and eventually the world would learn that the man called X wasn't a hero. He wasn't a villain. He wasn't a quirk user. He wasn't even something the existing rules of society could properly explain. He was simply a man who could change reality. And for now, he preferred lunch breaks. Ending, cliffhanger. The next morning, Izuku Midoriya stood before the gates of UA High. His dream was about to begin. At the same time, inside FOMO, X looked at the clock. 7 a.m. He sat at his desk. He opened his computer. A new message appeared. System error. X stared at it. He sighed. Not again. The screen flickered. For an instant, a strange symbol appeared, something X had never seen before. His smile vanished. That's not supposed to be here. To be continued. Next episode, Episode 2, The Entrance Exam and the Man in White. Season 1, The Age of Heroes.